of some payment is the amount which you would have to put in the bank right now to produce that amount in the future. Meaning, if you want to get B euros in the future, the present value of B, present value, is the amount A you must deposit in the bank now to get B. Of course, this depends on two things. First of all, time. When do you want to get B? And secondly, the interest rate. The bigger the interest rate, the smaller the amount you have to deposit. That's about the present value. How much now to get something in the future? The future value is the amount that certain amount P you put in the bank now converts into. So the future value, you put P euros in the bank, then you want to add a certain interest rate during certain years, you get a future value of B euros after so many years at whatever the interest rate is. Don't get confused here, because I said in future means in this part, when I talk about present value, I mean you want to get something in the future, what do I have to put now? Future value means I have this amount now, how much I get in the future. So let me write it. Present value, we know how much we want. We know what we want, and we want to find how much we should deposit now. The future value is that we know how much we have, and we want to compute, we want to find out how much we will get. The future value is used when, let me start with present values. So present value is used, for example, to compare two amounts, two future amounts at different futures. For example, if I have an amount at 6% during 3 years, another amount at 5% during 4 years, which one is better? So for that we compute present values, because if you think you have some amount after 3 years and another one after 4, you cannot compare, because between 3 and 4 something happens. Future values is to compute money we want to get in the future. To compute money in the future. Works either for a fixed amount you deposit only once, or when you deposit continuously. So you have an income stream, means a function of time, which is the money deposited in the bank at time t. Sorry about this time, it looks like a mess, so we'll erase it here and write again at time t. Like for example, if f of t is t divided by 2, this means on the first year you deposit 1/2, on the second year you deposit 1, and so on and so forth. We're going to assume here, for all these problems, that we assume that the amount is, the deposit is done continuously. So you deposit tiny amounts every millisecond, so you get the whole amount for the year or whatever, and the interest is compounded continuously. Otherwise, the thing is done with a simple power rule. So for that, what we have? So we have the present value of a income stream. So the present value of the income stream FT with the interest rate of R%, and with the, which will write like, well, doesn't matter. R%, it should be given in terms of, you don't say 3%, you rather write 0.03. And then an amount of years in years. Okay, so this means if the bank gives you an interest of 5% and you deposit during an amount of years FT, that's one option, and the other option is how much you would have to deposit now. So the present value is how much now to get f of t along the years, because if you put in the bank, it gives you some interest. Okay, the present value here, the present value is simply the integral between 0 and the number of years, or I have to put f here. Let me erase, I always forget the income stream. The amount you deposit, e to the minus rt dt, where r is the interest rate as a decimal, like here, and t is the time. The future value is when you know how much you deposit. So suppose you deposit GT with the same interest rate as the entire number of years, so the future value will be e to the nr times the integral between 0 and n g of t e to the minus rt dt. So the only difference between these two formulas is this part here. Okay, in the future value you have that exponential, in the present value you don't. You have to think that if r, n, and f equals to g, if everything is equal, then the present value is less than or equal to the future value, because the present you deposit now and it keeps giving you in the future, so it keeps giving you money in the bank, so that's why you deposit a smaller amount now to get a bigger amount along the time. So let me do some practical problem about this. A friend of yours owes you some money, 3,000 euros. First, either to pay you 2,800 now, or pay you 1,000 euros per year over the next 3 years, starting right now. Which one do you prefer? The way I understand the problem, option 1 is 2,800 now. Option 2 will be, well, here you have 1,000 euros now, 1,000 euros 1 year from now, and 1,000 euros 2 years from now. Which one should you choose? So in this problem is asking to find two values, the present and the future, where we know the income stream f of t is constant 1,000 per year, and we have a period of 20 years with an interest rate of 0.1. What is the present value? The present value is the amount I should put in the bank now to get 1,000 euros every year for the next 20 years, assuming the bank gives me an interest of 10%. How do we compute this present value? So the present value will be the integral from 0 to the time of the amount deposited, e to the minus interest rate times t. So that's simply 1,000 e to the minus 0.1 t divided by minus 0.1 between 0 and 20. So let me first put here the limits of integration, which is 1000, and then 20 is e to the minus 2 minus 1 divided by minus 0.1. Let me change the sign here. In this one, this minus, I'm going to become a plus. I'm going to interchange the order of these two. So for that, after I do that, I have, this is 1000 divided by 0.1 times 1 minus c to the minus 2. Divided by 0.1 is the same as multiplying by 10. So this is 10,000 times 1 minus c to the minus 2, which is equals to 8,646.65. So if I put this in the bank right now, and every year I can get 1,000 euros from the amount. On the other hand, the future value, we can do two ways. The future value is the integral, or we can just remember that future value is e to the nt times the present value. So in our case would be e to the 0.1 times 20, 8,646.65. So this e to the 2, 8,646.65, which comes to be equals to 63,890.58 So if I put 1,000 per year, every year, what I get at the end is this. I compute it simply, computing the present value and the future value. So, of course, if we do the integral, this will be e to the 0.1 times 20, the integral between 0 and 20,000, e to the minus 0.1 t dt, but this is the present value, so we come back to this formula here. So this means if I want to get 1,000 euros per year for the next 20 years, when the banks are given an interest of 10%, what I can do, I can put now 8,646.65, and that will produce this amount every year. Or I can take everything at the end, and what I get at the end, I get 63,890.58 at the end. So this is at the end, this is now, and that's the difference between present and future values.